Okay, good evening everybody. How are you all? Yeah, I'm fine. Dijesh, I'm very good. Good evening Prabha. Good evening Kelvin. Good evening Dijesh, Kazi, Rahul, everyone. Good evening and welcome to class. So today we are going to discuss about the principle of effective demand, or in other words, it's known as the Keynesian theory of employment. No, Keynesian is one of the uh, oldest economists. He is believed to be the founder economists around the world. So he has given a theory related to the demand and the level of employment in any economy, and that is what is known as the Keynesian theory of employment. Okay. Yeah, Rahul, good evening. Kazi, I'm fine. Okay. So the principle of effective demand lies at the heart of Keynes' general theory of employment. Now, what is this effective demand? This effective demand means, am I audible to everyone? Hello? Am I audible? Okay. Yes. So this theory talks about the effective demand and the level of employment in any economy. Okay. So this theory says that the basic of the theory is that the demand, the level of employment in any economy is dependent on the level of demand in the economy. Now, can you just tell me how these two things are interrelated? Level of employment and level of effective demand in the economy. How are the two related? Can you tell me? Very simple, very logical and very simple. Anybody? Yes? Anybody? How is the level of employment and the demand related? More jobs, more economical growth. Yes. Good evening, Kelvin. Okay, Prabha, that's pretty right. Money. Sriraj, like in what reference have you written money? It's very simple. Like if, yeah, money makes demand. Okay, all right. But right now, what we are discussing is the level of employment and the demand in the economy. You know, whenever there is an increase in demand for the products, then obviously the production level will go up. We will have to put in more capital into the investment. We have to invest more capital, and because of the increase in the capital investment, there will be more employment opportunities for the people. Okay, so they will, more and more people will get absorbed in the working of the economy, so everybody will get employment. The problem of unemployment will just be done away with. Okay, so that is the simple relationship. Yes, and as the employment increases, the level of standard of living also increases, because more people will have money in their hands. They will have more money with them, more disposable income, and hence their standard of living will go up. Okay? Yes. Yeah, all the sectors will be benefited. The whole economy will be good, will be in a good state. That is why it is said that a little inflation is very good for any economy, especially a developing economy, because during the period of inflation, the price level is very high. Because of the increase in prices, people like the producers, they want to make maximum of that situation, so they will invest more and more capital into the business. Because of the increase in capital investment, there will be increase in like the employment opportunities. More and more people will get employed because of the increased investment in production, like more people needed to run the machinery and all. Then because of this, the unemployment level will be at a very low rate. Okay, so that is why it is said that little inflation is good. Okay, Prabha, that's a very good question. Little means how much? Little means something in the range of 5%. Okay, something between 5%. So 5% economy, 5% inflation in any economy is always acceptable. It is welcomed in fact, because it also helps in the maximum exploitation of the natural resources. So overall the economy gets a boost if there is a little inflation in the economy. Alright, so now let's come back to this topic. So this theory may be defined as the demand efficiency theory, because this talks about the demand side of the employment. So let's see what it is. So Keynes designated the term effective demand to denote the total demand of goods and services, both for consumption and investment, by the people in a community. So in a money economy, this effective demand manifests itself in the spending of income or the flow of expenditure. Okay, like it covers both the aspects. It covers the income as well as the expenditure, because the spending of one person becomes the income of the other. If we are going to a shop and buying juice, so we are paying, and this is expenditure for us, but it is income for the shopkeeper. So it is interrelated. Okay. So the flow of expenditure in turn determines the flow of income, as one man's spending becomes the income of another. More the income, more will be the expenditure in the economy. We have more resources to spend. We have greater amount of money in hands to spend. So our expenditure level will go up, and that ultimately would mean income of somebody is going to go up. Okay, is it clear so far? Everyone? What about others? All right. Okay. So in real terms, the expenditure flow in a community consists of consumption expenditure and investment expenditure. Okay. Like consumption expenditure of one person will be the investment expenditure for the other person. For example, like we are spending, I am talking in a bigger scenario. So if suppose there is an industrialist, so he is buying coal. Okay, so he is buying coal to run his machinery, and with the help of that machinery we are going to manufacture something new. So for that businessman spending on that, or rather an industrialist spending on that coal is an investment expenditure. He is investing to run his machinery. Okay, and for the shopkeeper who is selling that coal, for him this is a consumption expenditure. Like he is into the trade of selling coal, so his coal is getting sold. So that is just a consumption expenditure for him. Okay, So in economy, both will go simultaneously, consumption as well as investment expenditure. And in other terms, we can say consumption expenditure means the expenditure which we do for in our day-to-day life. We buy wheat, we buy flour, we buy milk, that all is consumption expenditure. And investment expenditure is like we buy a car, we buy a flat. Okay, that is an investment expenditure. We buy government bonds, that is investment. So total demand will mean expenditure from both the points. So to meet such demand, people are employed either in producing consumption goods or in producing capital goods. So in other words, like people are getting employed. That may be any industry. It can be a consumption good industry or an investment good industry. So that is good that they are getting employment. So employment increases only when the total demand either from the consumption side or from the investment side increases. So a fundamental principle is that consumption increases with an increase in income but less proportionately. Okay, so this is the point to be noted. We know that with the increase in the income, the consumption level is going to increase, but it is less proportionately. We are not talking about an individual, we are talking about the economy. So from the point of view of the economy, this consumption, this proportion is not balanced. Okay, so as a result, there will be a widening gap between income and consumption. Hence, to sustain the flow of expenditure, the gap must be filled up by appropriate investment expenditure. So because the income is going up, but the consumption expenditure is not increasing, because everybody, as the 5 fingers of the hand are not of same size. Similarly, people are of different nature. Someone may spend more if their income will increase, but others may invest less. They may spend less. They may do savings. So because of this, a gap will be created. Okay. So to fill that gap, there must be appropriate investment expenditure, because we are in this case, flow of expenditure over here means the consumption expenditure, the expenditure by the common people. So to bridge that gap, we have to do more investment expenditures. Okay, is it clear? Are the things clear so far? Okay. So this means that the level of effective demand and resulting employment can be sustained only if investment demand increases with an increase in income. Good evening, Sandeep. So yes. So effective demand means the total of demand, or we can say just the total demand. So the level of effective demand and resulting employment can be sustained only if the investment demand increases with an increase in income. Only if this is going to happen. So there's a deficiency in effective demand is caused when investment inadequately fills up the gap between income and consumption. Okay, so we have to keep an eye on this. As an economist, we have to always keep an eye on this thing, that the gap doesn't get widened. It should be maintained. It shouldn't be too wide. So this results in creating unemployment in the country's economy. If this gap widens, then there is unemployment in the country. Hence, it may be concluded that in order to promote employment, effective demand should be increased by increasing investment in the economy. Okay, this investment expenditure which people are making, like the big capitalists, the big industrialists, this investment is like an injection. It is like a catalyst which is going to increase the level of production and hence the level of employment in any economy. Okay. No, Kelvin, this is not same as demand backup with money. Means it is not with reference to the consumer. We are talking with reference to a producer. Okay. So since Keynes sought to explain the point of effective demand in a capitalist economy free from government intervention, he considered consumption and investment expenditure of the community relating to private individuals and enterprises only. This is, we can say, this is one of the drawbacks of this theory. Like in this case, just 1 minute, I have to check something. Okay, let's do this, then we will go to another one. So this is a drawback of this theory, because it says that the government has no intervention in the economy, but practically this is not so. Government will always have a say in the economic matters. So in modern times, a capitalist economy is actually a mixed economy due to government interference and the existence of public sector. So thus government expenditure is also a significant determinant of the effective demand in a modern economy. Like government also make capital investments. Can you give me one example of the same? Government investment in the capital expenditures. Can you just tell me? Any example? Railways, very good. Yeah. Railways, utility, yeah, basic infrastructure. That investment. So that all is the basic capital expenditure by the government. So if we look from the point of view of that perspective, 1 minute. So this is so we have an equation over here, like effective demand is equal to C plus I is equal to G, where C stands for the consumption expenditure of household, I stands for the investment expenditure of the private firms, and what is this G? G stands for government. Yeah, it stands for the government expenditure. Actually, you know, this document is not complete. It has been, some portion is missing. Just a minute, I'll just try and get it. Not available. Yeah, transportation expenditure as well. Now let's come to this one. Okay, this is a more detailed analysis, so let's just discuss this. I hope you have understood what has been taught so far in that through that document. What is this theory about? Is it clear, everyone? Hello? Can you hear me, everybody? Okay, okay. G stands for the level of, we can say the level of employment. or in that reference we can say it is government expenditure. Okay, is it not visible, Dijesh? If I'll make it bigger, I think it will be cut. I hope it's like visible. Okay. So you can just read this, what is effective demand, because we have already discussed this point. So you can just have a look at it and then we'll just continue. Okay. Please have a look at this one. Difficult to read. Okay. I'll try and make it a little bigger. Now, is that fine? Okay. Yes. So we were discussing about effective demand. Okay. So in simple words, what has been it defined as it becomes effective when income is spent in buying consumption goods and investment goods. So Keynes used the term effective demand to denote the total demand for goods and services at various levels of employment. This we have discussed. Is my voice properly audible to everybody? I hope there is no disturbance. Okay, because I have just put on the AC, so that is why I am just asking. So now how this point of effective demand is arrived at. This point is arrived at, so like it's simple, the point at which the aggregate demand and aggregate supply is going to cut each other, that will be the point of effective demand. Okay, so let's see. Now let's see this aggregate demand price. The aggregate demand price for the output of any given amount of employment is the total sum of money or proceeds which is expected from the sale of the output produced when that amount of labor is employed. Okay, like by putting in a particular set of labor, how much are we expecting? Okay. Means how much earning are we expecting, that is an indicator. So the aggregate demand price is the amount of money which the entrepreneurs expect to get by selling the output produced by number of men employed. So in other words, it refers to the expected revenue from the sale of output produced at a particular level of employment. So you can just, there is a graph given below, we can see in that. That is called table 1. Okay, table 1 is showing the aggregate demand schedule. Let's see. Can you see this? Level of employment, and this is the aggregate demand price. 2025 is going up, and similarly the aggregate demand price is also rising. So let's discuss what this is. So the table reveals that with the increase in the level of employment, proceeds expected rise and at lower levels of employment decline. Like when 45 lakh people are employed, the demand price is rupees 280. Let's see, this is 45 lakh and the aggregate demand price is 280. Sorry. And when the employment is at 20 lakhs, the aggregate demand price is 230. So lower the level of employment, lower will be the what is this aggregate demand price? It is the expected earning, expected revenue. So lower is the revenue, expected revenue. So everybody will want to earn more money. So manufacturers will be obviously attracted to increase the level of employment. They will be more inclined to that. So according to Keynes, the aggregate demand function is an increasing function of the level of employment and is expressed as D is equal to F AO, where D is the proceeds which entrepreneurs accept from the employment of N men that we have seen. This is about demand. Now about supply, let's see that. So when an entrepreneur gives employment to certain amount of labor, it requires certain quantities of cooperant like factors like land, capital, raw material, etc., which will be paid remuneration along with the labor. Yeah, it's not only about labor, it is also about land. We have to pay the interest, then capital, we have to pay rent on the land, interest on capital, then we have to pay for the raw materials as well. So thus, each level of employment involves certain money costs of production, including normal profits which the entrepreneur must cover. So at any given level of employment of labor, aggregate supply price is the total amount of money which all the entrepreneurs in the economy taken together must expect to receive from the sale of the output produced by that given number of men, if it is to be just worth employing them. Okay, so like if we talk from the point of view of the labor, if we talk from the point of view of the supply, so from the point of view of the supply, aggregate supply price is the total amount of money which all the entrepreneurs in the economy must expect to receive from the sale of the output produced. It is somewhat like the revenue only which we are expecting from the from our sale. Okay, so let's see how this graph looks like. So you can see level of employment is 20, aggregate supply price is 215. When it has gone to 40, it has risen to 305. Okay, so that means the same relationship is there. With the increase in the level of employment, the aggregate supply price is also increasing. Actually, what is the supply price? We can say the minimum of investment which we have to do. So obviously, as we are going to increase the number of labor, we will have to invest more in the business. Investment not only in labor but in other factors of production as well. Okay, so if we analyze this graph, we can come to this conclusion. If entrepreneurs are to provide employment to 20 lakh workers, they must receive rupees 215 crores from the sale of the output produced by them. It is only when they expect to receive the minimum amount of proceeds that they will provide employment to more workers. But when the economy reaches the level of full employment, the aggregate supply price continues to increase, but there is no further increase in employment. Now let us see this point. You can see in the graph, the level of employment is 40, the supply price is 275. Again it's 40, it's 290. Again it's 40 and it's 305. So we are seeing that just the supply price is increasing. That means we are just increasing our cost. Actually, we are not increasing the level of employment in the economy. So it is better to stop at this point, because further the level of employment is not going to go up, but the cost is going up and up. Okay. So according to Keynes, the aggregate supply function is an increasing function of the level of employment and is expected as Z, where Z is the aggregate supply price of the output for employing N men. Let's leave this. So if we draw this supply curve, it will slope upwards from left to right because of the necessary expected proceed increase, like simple supply curve. It will look like that. Like this is a graph. So this supply curve will simply be like this. Means with every increase in the level of employment, we have to invest more and more of money. Yes, Prabha, that's a very genuine point, and this is what Mr. Modi has been pursuing on his foreign tools. He has been asking countries to make in India. He has started a campaign in the name of Make in India. So the target is to persuade the foreign investors to invest money in India, so that employment will be induced and country will develop. So let's see how this works out actually. Okay, so now how are we going to arrive at this effective demand? That is our point of concern. So there are two things which will determine the effectiveness of the demand. One is the demand itself and the other is the supply curve. Demand curve and supply curve. So let us see how they will interact with each other. So it is the point where what entrepreneurs expect to receive equals what they must receive and their profits are maximized. Means so this point is called the effective demand, and here the entrepreneurs earn normal profits. So long as the aggregate demand price is higher than the aggregate supply price, the prospects of getting additional profits are greater when more workers are provided employment. How secured is India? It is secured. I mean, you are asking with reference to economic perspective. It is a secured country. It is actually a developing country, and it is developing at a very faster pace. So it is expected that people are going to invest in India. Yeah, for investment purpose only. Right now we are at 6th number. Okay. If we are going to put a ban on Chinese products in country, so what will happen is our sales will go up, like indigenous sales will go up, indigenous product sale will go, and obviously then we will be better placed than other countries in the world. Yeah, it has been tumbling down, Sriraj. I've seen that. Okay, so now let's see how this point is arrived at, this point of this point of effective demand. So long as the aggregate demand price is higher than the aggregate supply price, the prospects of getting additional profits are greater when more workers are provided employment. So the proceeds, that is the revenue, will rise more than the proceeds necessary. So we are having profits because we are earning more than what we are investing. This process will continue till the aggregate demand price equals the aggregate supply price and the point of effective demands are reached. This point determines the level of employment and output in the economy. So this point of effective demand is, however, not necessarily one of full employment but of underemployment equilibrium. Okay, so practically we can say that it is a point of full employment, but theoretically it may not be. It may or may be the point of full employment. So if the entrepreneur tried to provide more employment after this point, the aggregate supply price exceeds the aggregate demand price, indicating that the total costs are higher than the total revenue. Because supply side is indicating the cost or the investment which we will have to make. So if the supply side will increase the demand, then that would mean our cost will be more than our revenue. So it's not feasible to employ workers beyond that point. Okay. So what will be the remedy to this? This is an automatic phenomena. Automatically the demand price will rise to meet the aggregate supply price at the new equilibrium point, and that may be the point of full employment. And at that point we are going to stop our, we can just make our mark at that point. Now if the aggregate demand price is raised further, it will lead to inflation because no increase in employment and the output is possible beyond the level of full employment. So let's see, there is a table which is showing this whole theory in detail. This is table 3. So this is the level of employment, aggregate supply and aggregate demand. Like you can see the demand price, initially it was this and it is now rising. Okay, it is rising. So this 40 is the point of full employment. Okay, this is the point of full employment, and we can increase our production till this third 40 because our demand price is going up and it's not feasible to go beyond this point, beyond this 40, because at this point the supply price is 275 and the old demand price is 270. Demand price means the expected revenue. It is 270 and now it is 275. But further the cost is increasing more than our expected revenue. So it's not at all advisable to go further for this investment. So the manufacturer will stop at this point, at the level of 40 lakhs employment. Did you get it? Hello, did you get it? Everybody. This is the best point for us. The demand price, that is our expected revenue. It has increased by 5 points and it is now equal to the investment. So investment of the cost. So it's better to stop at this point. Now, if we are going to plot these on a graph paper, we are going to get curves like these. Okay, this is the aggregate demand curve and this is the aggregate supply curve. They are cutting each other at this point, that is point E. So point E is the point of equilibrium or the point of effective demand. Alright, this is the point of effective demand. So the employment level will be fixed at ON because it is touching at point N. So N should be the level of employment or the point of full employment. Anything beyond this is going to cause a loss. Like if we consider this point R, at point R, the demand is more than the aggregate supply. Okay, it's more than that. So that means we are getting more revenue, because this is the point of aggregate demand. So this is, we are in profit, but if we go beyond this point, we will be at loss. So this is what I told you. Same thing has been explained in that. Now, one of the two determinants of effective demand, Keynes regards the aggregate supply function to be given because it depends on the technical conditions of the production, the availability of the raw material, machines which do not change in the short run. Yes. Now, how this aggregate supply function is arrived at? Aggregate supply function means this thing. Okay, this whole column. How is that arrived at? This column. So this is a given parameter because it depends on the technological advancement of the country. Okay, means how much is the capacity of the country to invest. It is dependent on that, or it's an indicator of that. And these are the things which are not going to change in the short run. So it is therefore the aggregate demand function which plays a vital role in determining the level of employment in the economy. So according to Keynes, the aggregate demand function depends on the consumption function and investment function. Prabha, I just explained this point. Like this aggregate supply is a given parameter, and yeah, it is measured also, it is calculated, but it is calculated on a like separately. If you remember, we did some topics like supply side, then we did about, I don't remember, I don't think we have done that topic. The topic of, we have done equilibrium of the manufacturer and all, isn't it? So for this also there is a separate theory that we haven't covered so far. So now they could be yes, demand and supply are finished. Now, the cause of unemployment may be a fall in either consumption expenditure or investment expenditure or both. Means this graph, what we are studying is that 40 lakh full employment level is the ideal situation. Anything above or less than that is going to cause loss to the economy. Okay. So, the level of employment can be raised by increasing either the consumption expenditure or investment expenditure or both. Thus, it is the aggregate demand function which is the effective element in the principle of effective demand. Now, this line says that it is the aggregate demand function which is the most important or the most effective element in this whole theory. Now, why is it so? Can you tell me? Very simple it is. Why this line has been written? I just explained it. I mean, yes. Okay, my question is that there are two determinants. One is the aggregate demand function and the other is the supply function. But why is the demand function the dominating function? Why is the supply not so very important? It is because the supply is fixed in the short run. Okay? It is fixed. It cannot be varied. We cannot increase the land, capital or entrepreneur. We can only vary the labor to some extent. So that is why it is not a very dominant function. The dominant function is the demand function. Okay? So this we have discussed that point E is the point of effective demand where which determines the O&M level of employment. So if O&F is the level of full employment for the economy, it requires the raising of the point of effective demand. O&F, let's see, O&F, this point. Like this is the standard point of equilibrium. Now if we have to increase it to NF, then the demand level also has to rise up. From AD it has to go to AD1. Okay? And if the aggregate demand function is raised beyond this point, the economy is going to experience the inflation. So we cannot do that also. We have to be very careful. Now what is the importance of this effective demand concept? Why did we study this theory? What is its significance? The first thing is that it helps in the determination of level of employment in any economy. Okay, you can just read this. This is very simple. This point, everybody please read. Read everybody? This is simple. Now let's just, this is not valid for us because we haven't done this law. Okay, we haven't done this phase law. So we cannot discuss this point right now. So I'll just skip this point. We haven't done this and Segobian view. Now, role of investment. The principle of effective demand highlights the significant role of investment in determining the level of employment in the economy. Okay. So, when income increases, consumption expenditure also increases, but by less than the increase in income. This is something that we have done. The gap is there which has to be bridged by increasing the investment expenditure. Now what is this point? The paradox of poverty in the midst of a potential plenty. The importance of effective demand lies in explaining the paradox of poverty in case of capitalism. So effective demand is mainly determined by the aggregate demand function, which is composed of consumption expenditure and investment expenditure. So what is there is a fundamental principle which says that when income increases, consumption increases because we have more money in hand to spend, okay, but less than proportionately. This creates a gap, and that gap has to be filled by investment expenditure. If it is not done, then we will have a state of unemployment.
So it follows that in a poor community, the gap between income and consumption is small because of the marginal propensity to consume is high. It will therefore have little difficulty in employing all its resources by filling the gap through small investment expenditure. Okay, that means if it's a poor community, it means if it's a poor economy like that of Ghana, Kenya, the countries which are not so very much developed, if such a situation comes before them, then the gap between the income and consumption will be small. The proportion will be very small because the marginal propensity to consume is high because they are already very underdeveloped countries. So even if the level of income of people rise, it will not be to that extent as in case of a developed economy. If we compare America with Ghana, there cannot be any comparison here. Okay, so there will be difficulty in employing all its resources by filling a gap through small investment expenditure. Like from where is such a poor country going to get the resources that are needed for increasing the investment expenditure? So the gap will still persist, but not on a very great scale. Now in a wealthy community, the gap between income and consumption is very large because the marginal propensity to consume is low. Okay, like people have lots of money in the hand, and if there is an increase in their income, they will definitely spend more and more. So large investment expenditure will be required to bridge that gap. So the problem is that in a rich community, investment demand is not adequate to fill this gap, and there emerges a deficiency of aggregate demand resulting in widespread unemployment. Okay, this investment demand is not very high in case of a very developed country as well. So because of this, the gap is too much, but the action that can be taken is not very effective. So when the aggregate demand falls, the potential wealthy community will be forced to reduce its actual output until it becomes so poor that the excess of output over consumption will be reduced to actual amount of investment. How this thing will be tackled? Like if the aggregate demand falls down, the potential wealthy community like Australia, community like US, it will be forced to reduce its actual output. Okay, it will reduce the actual level of output. It will go down beyond what it has been manufacturing or producing so far, until it becomes so poor that the excess of output over consumption will be reduced to the actual amount of investment. So whatever extra investment which we are planning for or which we are doing, that will just be enough to balance the gap. Okay, somewhat, Prabha, somewhat. Now, what is the other point in such an economy, in such a community, a wealthy community? There is an accumulated stock of capital assets. They already have lots of machinery. They have capital in the banks. They have entrepreneurs. They have everything with them. Okay, so this weakens the inducement to invest. Like people are not very keen to invest in such places. So that is the reason. The gap will still persist because of this non-willingness of the people to invest. Okay. So what we can conclude with this is, the richer the community, the more obvious and outrageous the defects of the economic system that lead to unemployment on a mass scale in the midst of a potential plenty because of the deficiency of effective demand. Yes, like if it's a prosperous community, then definitely the problems or the results will be far-reaching. Like there was a Great Depression in 1930, and its impact was that the economies like US and UK, they were not able to recover from it for decades. So more wealthy the community is, more will be the impacts of any kind of economic crisis. Okay. So this brings us to the end of the class, and this brings us to the end of the topic as well. So thanks for your time, everybody. Have a great day tomorrow. It will be off for you all. So thanks for your time. Good to see everybody in the class. Hope to see you all in the next class. Thanks. Good night. Bye. Take care. Enjoy yourselves. See you all on Sunday. Okay then. Bye. Take care. And please fill the feedback form. Bye.